We all know Italy for its ancient ruins and irresistible cuisine, but Italy also hides smoking giants and islands that glow blue under moonlight. In this video, I'll show you Italy from the lava-scarred slopes of Mount Etna, where vineyards survive ash, to the sinking cliff town of Civita di Bagnoregio. Val d'Orcia's rolling hills form a UNESCO-listed cultural landscape, exceptionally rare for having preserved Renaissance-era agricultural geometry and sightlines that directly influenced the composition of Italy's great paintings. Do you know Val d'Orcia's cypress-lined roads and snapped ridgelines were deliberately planted as visual punctuation centuries ago, turning farmland into living canvases that still shape how we see the Tuscan light? Start in Piazza, where a Renaissance pope reimagined an entire hilltop town to fit that landscape. Its streets and palaces designed to frame the valley like a sequence of tableaus. From Piazza, the view curves toward Montalcino, whose fortress crowns a wine-soaked ridge and signals an age when landscape, defense, and viticulture were inseparable. Below Montalcino, vineyards of Brunello carve terraces into the slopes, each row following centuries-old contours that make the hills read like sheet music for the harvest. Nearby, Montepulciano's brick towers and cellar doors reveal the subterranean craft that turns those slopes into wines prized the world over. Crossing the valley floor brings you to Bagno Vignoni, where a single medieval square is a steaming basin of thermal water, an ancient hot spring frozen at the center of a town, unlike any other in Italy. That geothermal presence threads through the region, from stone spas to the mineral-rich soil that gives wheat and grapes a distinct, almost luminous flavor. The clay badlands of the Crete Senesi edge the Val d'Orcia and offer a lunar counterpoint to the cultivated hills, strips of eroded earth that amplify the drama of every sunrise. Artists and photographers chase that light because the valley's shallow air and low humidity create a clarity that sharpens color and shadow in ways few places can match. Walk any ridge at dusk, and you will see why roads here were designed as processional views. Each turn reveals a new composition, a deliberate reveal practiced for centuries. Local farmers, vintners, and stonemasons still steward the fields with techniques traced back to the Renaissance, so the landscape reads as both living economy and curated museum. Valdorcia teaches that beauty here is not accidental. It's built, tended, and argued over by generations who wrote the valley into history. We'll trace the lane where a single cypress marks the spot photographers treat as a shrine, and learn why that tree line became a symbol for the idealized rural Italy. Lake Garda plunges to a maximum depth of nearly 346 meters, cradling clear, cold waters beneath olive terraces and lemon houses that flourish far north of where anyone would expect citrus to grow. Do you know Lake Garda hosts two opposing seasonal winds, the Ora and the Peeler? That turn these shores into a playground for sailors and have shaped centuries of local life and lore. From Sirmione's steaming Roman spas and the finger of land crowned by a medieval Scaligere castle, the lake unmosts like a string of living postcards. Bordering town by town, Limone sul Garda still cultivates citrus behind stone walls, while nearby Malcasini clings to cliffs beneath Monte Baldo's slopes, which botanists call the Garden of Europe. Take the cable car from Malcasine, and you climb through alpine pine meadows that host orchids, and alpine pine plants rare for this latitude. Then look down on a landscape shaped by glacial force. Across the lake, Riva del Garda channels the northern winds into dramatic beaches and fortress ruins that remember Austrian garrisons and bluffing Venetian merchants. Isola del Garda, with its palatial villa and lush gardens, reads like a secret chapter of Venetian taste, set on a private island stage. Gardone Riviera shelters the eccentric Vittoriale estate, where an admiral's collection of boats, planes, and poetry sits like an exhibit of Italy's turbulent 20th through 20th century. Throughout, the shoreline is stitched by ancient pathways and olive groves that lead travelers from one village tale to the next, each offering a different slice of Garda's surprising climate and culture. Stay with us, and we'll follow those trails, from lemon gardens to mountain meadows, to uncover the hidden reasons Lake Garda feels less like a single place and more like an entire country at the edge of Italy. Mount Etna is one of the few active volcanoes whose slopes host flourishing vineyards that reach over 1,000 meters in elevation. Do you know Mount Etna's eruptions can produce volcanic lightning and ash that paradoxically help create some of Sicily's most fertile soils for citrus orchards and ancient chestnut woods? For millennia, locals have learned to live with its moods, building towns that use volcanic stone for houses and terraces that cling to lava-sculpted contours. Its frequent activity has carved a rugged cathedral of basalt, pumice, and red scoria, where new craters appear and old ones become islands of dark rock. Scientists adore Etna because it erupts in many styles, from river like Pahoeho, flows to violent strombolian bursts, making it one of the best natural laboratories for volcanology. Beneath its flanks lie hidden lava tubes and caves that shelter fungi, mosses, and insects found nowhere else, creating micro-ecosystems born from heat and stone. Winter brings a surreal contrast when skiers descend powdery slopes above vineyards, while steam still rises from recent fissures below. Local shepherds and beekeepers claim the mineral-rich air gives Etna honey and cheeses a flavor profile you cannot replicate elsewhere. The mountain's history is written in layers. Older Etna collapsed and rebuilt itself multiple times, leaving scars that reveal dramatic prehistoric eruptions. Roman writers and medieval scholars chronicled its fires, and modern seismic stations now watch every tremor with instruments and satellites. Small villages like Nicolosi and Zaffarana Etnea stage festivals that celebrate both harvest and survival, their traditions braided with ash and lava. Roads climb from the citrus plains up through vineyards to lunar fields of black rock, where guided treks teach visitors how recent geology reshaped lives. You can stand inches from glowing lava during rare open flows, or peer into ancient craters from viewing platforms that make geology feel immediate and personal. Conservationists work here too, balancing tourism, agriculture, and the fragile regrowth of native woodlands along the mountain's lower slopes. From Etna's heights, the Ionian Sea glitters, and the city of Catania sprawls at its foot, a reminder that human and volcanic stories are interwoven. That closeness is why towns, wines, and even the dramatic amphitheaters of nearby Taormina owe part of their character to Etna's relentless shaping. As night falls, fumaroles can glow like embers on a sleeping dragon, and the map of Sicily makes more sense once you see how this one mountain has shaped coastlines and cultures. In the next segment, we'll follow those rivers of lava down to the black sand beaches and ancient lava bridges that connect Etna's fire to the sea. Hidden within its tiny borders, Vatican City safeguards an unmatched concentration of art and history that few city-states can rival. entire city-state spans just 44 hectares, yet contains treasures that have shaped Western art for centuries. At the heart of this sovereign enclave stands St. Peter's Basilica, a Renaissance and Baroque masterpiece whose dome punctures Rome's sky mosaic. Constructed over the supposed tomb of St. Peter, the basilica's scale was conceived to embody both spiritual authority and architectural daring. Inside, marble, mosaics, and colossal sculptures converge, including Michelangelo's Pietà, carved when he was still in his 20s. Visitors often step into hushed corridors and unexpected chapels, where every surface tells stories of popes, patrons, and pilgrimages. Climb to the basilica's dome, and you move from intimate sacred spaces to a panoramic sweep that bridges Vatican courtyards with the greater city of Rome. From this vantage, the obelisk at St. Peter's Square and the colonnades by Bernini read like chapters in a single architectural diocese. Beneath the main altar lie the Vatican grottos, a subterranean labyrinth where papal tombs and ancient mosaics whisper of centuries-long continuity. Standing in St. Peter's, you feel that the building is both a destination and a hinge, linking the private devotion of the grottos to the public pageantry of the square. As pilgrims leave the basilica into Bernini's embrace, they carry with them fragments of history that continue to influence art, politics, and religious life beyond these walls. The Vatican's compact geography makes these transitions immediate, ensuring that every step from courtyard to chapel deepens the sense of layered meaning. To understand St. Peter's is to read a concentrated volume of Western civilization, where superstitions, light, and ritual compress millennia into a single monumental experience. And as the basilica casts its long shadow over the square, it invites questions about power, piety, and the enduring human urge to commemorate the sacred. But the miracle of Santa Maria del Fiore is not only its skin, but its revolutionary dome engineered by Filippo Brunelleschi. Completed in 1436, Brunelleschi's double-shelled cupola was erected without full centering, using an interlocking herringbone brick pattern and a ring and rib structure that confounded contemporary expectations. At 45 meters across, the dome remained the largest masonry dome in the world for centuries, reshaping Renaissance architecture and the ambitions of an entire city. Inside, Giorgio Vasari and Federico Zuccari wrapped the vault in a towering Last Judgment fresco, turning structural surface into narrative canvas. Climbing the narrow steps between the dome's shells reveals hidden scaffolds and the subtle geometry that channels immense weight down ribs into sturdy piers. The lantern that caps the cupola acts as both keystone and a beacon, its silhouette visible for miles across Tuscany. From the exterior's polychrome marble panels to the bronze details once affixed by Renaissance craftsmen, every element focuses civic pièce, artisanal skill, and regional geology. Giotto's adjacent campanile and the baptistery's ancient bronze doors form a trio of monuments that converse in stone around the piazza. Few visitors know the Duomo's foundations rest on layers of river silt, prompting innovative underpinning and making Brunelleschi's methods an early triumph of urban engineering. That marriage of precarious ground and bold design places the Duomo among Europe's earliest large-scale corrective architecture projects. Each step upwards tightens your view to the frescoed figures and minute painted façades, bringing human scale into a structure designed to soar. Below the cathedral floor guards human inscriptions, star maps, and nearby bronze reliefs that connect public ritual to private remembrance. The Duomo's silhouette shaped Florence's identity, its form declaring a civic faith in art, learning, and the raw materials of its hinterland. When sunset strikes the marble, those Carrara veins glow like pale fire, a geological signature that ties the cathedral back to the mountains and the hands that shaped them. Understanding the Duomo means tracing a chain, mountain quarry to marble block. Artisans chiseled a master's design, city ambition to engineering breakthrough. In the next section, we will peel back each link in that chain and reveal the hidden mechanics and human stories that make the Florence Cathedral both a geological exhibit and a human epic. Under the marble cascade of the Trevi Fountain, Rome keeps its oldest ritual alive as coins tossed over the shoulder still promise return and secret wishes. The fountain draws water from the ancient Aqua Vergine aqueduct, the same line that has supplied the city since 19 BCE. Visitors linger at the ledge, studying the hulking figure of Oceanus and the frothing horses that embody the city's maritime myth. unaware that each sculpted detail was chosen to tell a political and poetic story. By night, under golden light, the water glitters, and the fountain becomes a stage where countless personal stories begin and end. The tradition of throwing coins began centuries ago, and today yields thousands of euros annually, collected each night and donated to charity to feed Rome's needy. Nearby streets that slope away from the piazza lead naturally toward the narrow lanes of the Pantheon and the Baroque staircases of Piazza di Spagna, so the fountain acts as a hinge between epochs. Architects and poets have argued about the restoration choices made in the 20th and 21st centuries, debating whether cleaning marble erases the patina of time. Or reveals its original grandeur. Yet for most visitors, the ritual matters more than the controversy. They press palm against the cool stone, make a wish, and drop a coin. A legend tells that the first coin guarantees a return, the second guarantees falling in love, and the third ensures marriage. 3 small gestures binding strangers to the city's history. Even the runoff channels whisper tales of emperors and flood seasons, connecting Trevi to Rome's long conversation with water. Local guides point out small inscriptions at the base that date restorations and betray layers of civic pride. From the Trevi, one can wander toward the ancient streets that lead to the Roman Forum, each alley folding the visitor deeper into the city's living museum. On a strip of exposed volcanic tuff, Italy's Palatine Hill rises like a living layer of the city's earliest geology, its slopes holding secrets older than Rome itself. Do you know that beneath the gardens and pines of Palatine Hill lie the foundations of huts and shrines dating back to the 8th century BCE, and that these excavations reframe the story of Rome's birth? Walk among the crumbling terraces and you can still trace the footprint of imperial power. Augustus, Tiberius, and Domitian all shaped the Palatine into a series of opulent palaces. What fewer visitors notice are the narrow service corridors and subterranean rooms that once carried water, food, and whispers between private chambers, creating an invisible network beneath the grandeur. Between marble columns and ruined peristyles, the hill nurtures a surprising microclimate, where Mediterranean herbs and ancient olive roots stubbornly persist. Archaeologists have found pollen records and seeds that suggest the landscape around the palaces supported orchards and kitchen gardens for centuries. From its terraces, the Palatine commands views that stitch Rome's public and private lives together, overlooking the political bustle of the Forum and the thunder of the Circus Maximus. Reading those layers is like decoding a long civil argument between ambition, memory, and the need to be remembered. What you won't expect is how small domestic items, game pieces, combs, cooking pots, turn the abstract concept of emperor into the intimate reality of people who ate, laughed, and plotted here. These personal traces connect the imperial stage to everyday lives, allowing us to walk between centuries in a single step. So when we step down toward the Forum, remember that every ruined column began as someone's room, and every public triumph was rooted in these shaded pockets of the Palatine. The next chapter will peel back the Forum's facades, but first, we'll linger a little longer among the hill's hidden rooms and the whispers they keep. Italy's Ligurian coastline at Cinque Terre holds one of the world's few remaining centuries-old maritime terraced landscapes painstakingly built into near-vertical cliffs. Do you know Cinque Terre's terraces are maintained without modern heavy machinery, using dry stone walls and hand-built paths that date back over 1,000 years? The 5 villages, Monterosso, Vernazza, Cornelia, Manarola, and Rio Maggiore, appear like vivid brushstrokes hugging the sea, each harbor telling a different maritime story. Fishermen still mend nets beside pastel houses, while tiny vineyards coax honeyed charcuterie from impossibly steep slopes. Trails stitch these villages together, and the famed Via dell'Amore is only the most photographed seam in a web of ancient mule tracks. Hikers pass olive terraces and tiny chapels, where every switchback reveals new views of the shimmering Ligurian Sea. In Manarola, you can peer into grottos where light fractures across tide pools and fishermen slide boats along stone ramps. Corniglia, perched higher than its sisters, rewards the patient with silence, lemon groves, and a panorama that seems to spill into forever. Vernazza wears a natural harbor, like an amphitheater, its narrow alleys unfolding into a piazza where sea and village meet. Monterosso alone boasts a sandy shore, a rare strip of beach where centuries of maritime life softened into seaside celebration. The microclimate shelters citrus and caper bushes, creating pockets of unexpected biodiversity, clinging to rock shelves. Those terraces are living infrastructure, preventing erosion while producing oils, grapes, and sustenance for tiny communities. Old stone stairways creak underfoot as you move from fishing wharf to vineyard, and history seems embedded in every mortar joint. Yet modern pressures, crowds, storms, and development have forced careful conservation to keep those walls standing. Taste here is geography. Anchovies preserved in oil, fresh focaccia, and the amber scrape of Cinque Terre that tastes of Florence sea. Local festivals still map the year, and seasonal rhythms keep these enclaves intimately connected to harvest and tide. Storms in recent years have shown how fragile this human-crafted landscape can be, exposing walls that need patient rebuilding. International attention has poured in, but the real work remains hand tools, local knowledge, and seed-tested techniques. Walk eastward along the coast, and the narrative continues into Porto Venere and the Gulf of Poets, where limestone spurs and sheltered bays echo Cinque Terre's story. That geographic link offers a softer coastline and literary legacies, a natural next chapter to explore. Cinque Terre is therefore not just a postcard, but a living experiment in balancing people, agriculture, and wild sea. Stay with us, and we'll show how these cliffs have taught Italians and visitors alike to live lightly on steep ground. Beneath Italy's hills lies Carrara, the marble quarries whose crystalline stone, carved from an ancient seabed, has dressed cathedrals and sculpted icons for over 2 millennia. Do you know, Carrara marble's unique density and luminous grain helped architects build the Leaning Tower of Pisa in a way that both beautified and betrayed its balance. The tower itself began in 1173 as a proud bell tower of Pisa's cathedral complex, its white marble tiers rising in Romanesque rhythm. But the prayers and plans were interrupted almost immediately when the foundations met the city's soft, silty subsoil, and the structures started to tip even as masons kept adding stories. What few visitors realize is that the tilt is not a simple slant, but a layered tale of pauses, wars, and architectural improvisation that actually saved the tower from collapse. Builders halted construction for nearly a century after the third floor, and while that delay sounds like failure, it allowed the ground to settle and new techniques to be developed that let the tower rise taller than would otherwise have been possible. Inside its spiraling stairwell, more than 200 steps lead to bells tuned to the 7 notes of the medieval scale, each named and cast to call the faithful across the square. Legend ties Galileo to these steps, claiming he dropped 2 spheres from the tower to test falling speeds, a myth that endures because it captures how Pisa fused curiosity with stone. Centuries later, the tilt reached a dangerous 5.5 degrees, and engineers feared the tower would topple. So an international effort in the late 20th century used counterweights, soil extraction, and precise monitoring to pull it back almost half a meter. Today, the lean rests at just under 4 degrees, a compromise between conservation and the iconic imbalance that draws millions each year. Less known is how the tower's marble ages these days. Micro cracks and biofilms subtly alter its sheen, and conservators perform delicate analyses to choose cleaning methods that protect both stone and history. From the nearby Carrara quarries to the tower's bells, Pisa is a story of material, miscalculation, and human persistence, one place folding into the next, where geology meets genius and the ground itself became a silent collaborator in art. Italy's Dolomites were once a tropical coral reef, now fossilized into the only mountain range of its kind on Earth. Do you know that the canals of Venice sit on tens of thousands of wooden pilings driven into the lagoon, preserving a city built on memory and salt? From those silenced reefs, the journey drops to the pastel cliffs of Cinque Terre, where terraced vines cling to stone, as if refusing retreat. The terraces flow down into the Ligurian Sea and, in a single coastline, teach the same lesson that shapes Amalfi's lemon-scented cliffs and Pompeii's ash-choked streets. Vesuvius and Etna, volcanoes both feared and worshipped, feed the soil that grows tomatoes for Naples and grapes for Sicily, linking destruction to sustenance. Crossing to Sicily, the Valley of the Temple stands like a chapter in a book of collisions. Greek pillars beside Arab domes, marble beside olive groves. In Sardinia, nuraghi rise out of scrubland like ancient questions, while Puglia's white trulli dot the plains in patterns older than modern borders. Tuscany's rolling mosaics of vineyards and cypress lines teach patience, turning sun and soil into wines that have crossed oceans to tell this country's story. Even Rome, layered in stone, holds the threads that stitch these places together. Emperors, merchants, pilgrims, and migrants who moved art, language, and food across regions. Each town, from the Alpine pastures to the Ionian coast, keeps a secret only revealed when you slow down. Recipes, rituals, dialects, and a stubborn way of turning history into living custom. If you follow the scent of citrus from Amalfi to Palermo, or trace the marble veins from Carrara to the temples of Agrigento, you discover Europe condensed: geology, empire, and human patience. And when you stand at the edge of any of Italy's horizons, you realize it is less a country of fixed places than a network of conversations between land and people that keep rewriting themselves. So go with curiosity, not checklist. Let the Dolomites' fossil stones and Sicily's volcanic vineyards lead you into stories you didn't know you were missing. For Italy does not give itself all at once. What remains is the urge to return and find what you skipped the first time. This is a land where every doorway opens to a different weather, a different taste, and a different line of history, each more astonishing when seen as part of the whole. Keep watching, keep asking, and let the next chapter be yours to discover.